Dawn was still hours away when the ships began to form ranks in the churning waters of the English Channel. Over 5,000 vessels, battleships, troop transports, landing craft, gathered under the ghostly gray clouds. For weeks, bad weather had postponed the operation. Now the decision had been made. There would be no more waiting. Operation Overlord was a go. On board, tens of thousands of soldiers, sailors, and airmen prepared themselves for what they knew could be the end. The tension was suffocating. Some men joked nervously to break the tension. Others sat quietly writing letters, final letters, to families they might never see again. Chaplains moved down the crowded passageways offering whispered prayers. Some soldiers accepted crosses and rosaries. Others just shook their heads, lost in their thoughts. Private First Class Andy Rooney, who would later become a famous journalist, remembered the heavy silence. It was the quiet of fear, not the quiet of calm. Outside, the wind howled and the rain fell in sheets. The channel tossed the ships like toys. Men, already seasick, fought to keep their balance, clutching rifles and packs that felt heavier by the minute. Somewhere across that dark expanse of water, the coast of France waited, along with Hitler's Atlantic Wall. And they knew, every man knew, that once those ramps dropped, nothing would ever be the same. As the night dragged on, sleep became impossible. Soldiers lay awake in their bunks or sat on steel floors, listening to the thrum of engines beneath them. Some pulled out dog-eared photographs, mothers, sweethearts, children left behind in faraway towns. Others smoked cigarette after cigarette, the smoke curling into the dim lights above. There were no loud conversations anymore, only murmured prayers, whispered hopes, and silent tears were wiped away by calloused hands. In the darkness, men confronted their mortality. Few would admit it aloud, but many believed they would die before the sun set the next day. Corporal Stanley Frankel wrote in his diary, "If you knew you might not live past tomorrow, what would you think about?" That's all we did that night, think. At 2:30 a.m., final briefings came down. Officers unfolded maps, pointing to beaches with code names: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword. Simple names for places about to be etched in blood and fire. Some men had no idea where exactly they were going, only that it was enemy-occupied and it would be defended to the death. Medics marked their helmets with red crosses. Engineers packed satchels of explosives to clear obstacles, and everyone waited. Waited for dawn, waited for fate. The ramps slammed down and the world turned into a nightmare. Machine gun bullets sliced through the front ranks. In some boats, half the men fell before anyone touched sand. Water churned red with blood. Soldiers leapt over the sides of the boats into waist-deep or chest-deep surf, trying to avoid the gunfire. Some were shot in the water and never rose again. Others struggled to move under the crushing weight of their gear, crawling forward inch by agonizing inch. Those who made it to the beach found no refuge. Mortars exploded all around. Steel tank traps, barbed wire entanglements, and wooden stakes blocked their way. The air was filled with screams, for medics, for mothers, for God. Sergeant Robert Sales recalled, "It was like a butcher shop. Bodies everywhere. I ran without thinking, just ran." Units were shattered. Officers were picked off instantly. Companies meant to land together ended up scattered across miles of beach. Chaos reigned, yet somehow the men kept pushing forward. Inch by inch, the survivors clawed their way up the beach. Engineers ran forward with Bangalore torpedoes, long pipes filled with explosives, and blew holes through the barbed wire. The tanks that made it ashore began firing at bunkers. Riflemen laid down suppressing fire, advancing in bursts, 5 yards at a time, 10 yards if lucky. Some men collapsed from exhaustion, dehydration, or terror. Others simply kept crawling, bloody, battered, unstoppable. Incredibly, pockets of resistance began to crumble. German machine gun nests ran low on ammo. Bunker doors were blasted open with grenades and flamethrowers. The tide of battle slowly turned, not through overwhelming firepower, but through sheer, brutal determination. At Omaha Beach, where the fighting was worst by mid-afternoon, small groups of survivors broke through the German lines. They were exhausted, they were bloodied, they were victorious, but they had paid an unimaginable price. By the end of June 6, 1944, over 4,400 Allied soldiers were dead. Thousands more wounded. But the beachheads were secured. Europe had its foothold. Hitler's dream of dominance had been cracked, the first real crack, and soon it would shatter entirely. Every soldier who fought on D-Day wrote a chapter of that history. In blood, in courage, in sacrifice. They were ordinary men, yet they accomplished something extraordinary. And because they fought, we are free.